Taoiseach agus an gcuine uaisle fáilte go féile starúil iarthar Corcaí iver a sé. We've got as far as 6. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Taoiseach, for taking the time in the middle of holidays and Camogie All-Ireland finals to spend a few hours with us. We're hugely grateful. Thank you for that. And the Taoiseach is going to say a few words in a moment. But before we started, Victoria and I wanted to say a little about what we are intending for this weekend, a little about the programme and what you will see. To welcome the people who are joining us via the live stream. Thank you. We decided it would be a hybrid format this year to allow as many people as possible to see it now and on the recordings, and we will try and include them when we come to questions for our panellists later on. Before we kicked off, though, on a very personal note to the Kingston family, all of us are still in the shadow of the death of James Kingston, who, as you will probably recall, Taoiseach, was the General Counsel to the Department of Foreign Affairs, a great servant to Ireland, and less importantly, but meaningfully to us, somebody who had been a great advisor to the festival. He always secured some great speakers for us. He chaired panels with his combination of erudition and wit, and we miss him. But we hope he is regarding us from somewhere and benignly, we believe. So what's going to happen this afternoon is, after a few words from the Taoiseach, we will hear a specially recorded piece by Bob Geldof, reading the NM Cummins letter and reflecting on it. And what will follow from there are a series of contributions, both from historians and a really extraordinary artist in response to that. So we'll hear from Brendan McSivna, Melissa Fegan and Charles Reid on different facets of Black 47. After each of the contributions, there will be time for a few questions to that individual speaker, and then there will be a break so that you all get a breath of much needed fresh air. And at the end of the afternoon, the speakers will come together as a panel, and hopefully we'll have a more interactive session at that point. So that's the order of play this afternoon.
And then this evening we've got the second of our festival concerts starting at 8:30. And it is an amazing piece of quite a lot of new commissioned music inspired by Agnes Clark, who was born in Skibbereen. She's one of only, I think, a dozen women to have a crater on the moon named after her. She was an extraordinary woman, astronomer, science writer, amazingly inspirational woman. So our friend Jessie Kennedy has written a concert inspired by her and incorporating some of the music that Agnes would have played, because she was a great music lover as well. So that's this evening. And then tomorrow?
Then tomorrow we will return to the decade of centenaries that we've been following in the festival over the last few years and talk, helped by 4 contributors, about the Bandon Valley killings and what happened in that period in April 1922. Both here, the consequence for the minority community of those events, but also trying to look at it in an all-island context. And so we have 4 speakers who will talk us through that. Gemma Clark, Don Wood, Brian Walker and Andy Bielenberg. They will each take different perspectives on what is contentious material, but we think it will be very interesting indeed. And all of it will be available, because I know this is an area that Taoiseach is particularly interested in. We will record it all and we'll be able to distribute that. It will become in the end something that is we hope a public good when we put the recordings up.
We should just have a couple of housekeeping announcements.
Yes.
Sorry, if there is a fire, you have to exit back through the door you came in, or through that, depending which door you're nearer. Thank you. Fire Marshal. Thank you, Taoiseach. There's tea, coffee, cake and drinks available whenever you go out for a break, and if you need to go to the toilet, why am I doing this bit? Back out through the door you came in. I think that's everything. Sorry for the live stream people, that's not really that relevant to you, but you know, we want you to feel part of the event. So I think that's the...
Great, thank you. And we're delighted to be back. This is an incredibly important part of the world, and it is great to have at least some of us here in person and others online. And with that, if I can pass over to the Taoiseach. Thank you.
Well, Just Simon agus Victoria dús bare bhla a bhéchas sa gháil live a socht an cuire chuig an rógáil a ríis an lína agus cogádagus a dhéanamh live a socht an dul chun cín úntachtá a feiscint mar le na féile seo a rithim na blianta agus é seán sé chin ceann. Unta gan scéile. Just want to thank you very much indeed, Simon and Victoria, again for the invitation to this year's conference. It's become a kind of a regular pre-COVID experience for me as we kind of wander down to West Cork during August to wander over here to this particular history festival. And it's been an important history festival in terms of creating opportunities for very significant, informed and enlightened contributions on our past, both local, national, and obviously within a European and global context. And I must say I've found it very informative over the years as I remain, as I said earlier, a student of history, and we continue to learn from our past. I'm also of the view, as Taoiseach and as leader of government, to underpin the importance of objective, informed history without prejudice, and to, if you like, encourage greater inquiry into our past that's not governed by the political needs of the present day or indeed the prejudices that we may all have inherited or come with through our own family experiences or through our community experiences. In other words, we need to try and create a culture where there's a genuine, open approach to history, to see history really with all its grey and nuance, not always to fall for the simplistic narrative or the one narrative of the past. There can be many different narratives. And the role of a historian very often, from my perspective, is to really reveal the complexity of the past and of the events of the past, as opposed to going to the simplistic narrative. And I'm conscious as you look around the world today, authoritarian regimes want to twist history, want to undermine history, that sense of impartiality, and control history for their present day needs. So we must always stand up for the independence of history, the independence of historians, which I think is particularly important. I'm in particular looking forward to today's session, which is on the famine, which is in many ways a defining, obviously, national event for our people and our country, a watershed moment, a dividing line, if you like, in terms of before the famine, after the famine, population, language, psychology of the nation subsequently, the creation of diasporas to a very extraordinary degree, which has a long-lasting influence on us. Even when you look at this year's census, we're thinking, this is the highest population since the famine and so on. And it's almost as if we're now recovering still from that period in sheer population terms. And I was very struck by how impactful, obviously, an event of the enormity of a famine can have on our people when I visited Kiev recently. And they were very still conscious of the Holodomor, for example. And even in the midst of the current pressures and challenges that the people of Ukraine are under as a result of the war, they did take me to a museum on the Holodomor, and in many ways a defining moment for them in terms of their national consciousness and sense of identity brought about by that catastrophic event for the Ukrainian people, much more recent, of course, than ours. But nonetheless, I think it gives a sense of the degree to which a shared experience, be it a very shared traumatic experience, can have on a nation and on people subsequently. I'm conscious also that as I sit down, when I think about this, Bob Geldof will be speaking. As a country that has experienced such a traumatic event, we have an obligation and a moral obligation, as Bob, I anticipate, will remind me, in terms of, and seriously, the leadership role that Ireland must continue to take because of our experiences. And the weaponization of food is not something new. And in the context of the Ukrainian war, food is being weaponized. And we are facing a very significant issue in the Horn of Africa. And I just want to say again that Ireland will continue to take that leadership position at international fora, be it at the UN Security Council, where all our diplomats are playing a very dare I say, heroic role in respect of humanitarian corridors to Syria, for example, which has been very difficult at the Security Council. But we're now very conscious of the potential calamity facing the Horn of Africa in particular, and the realisation of the Sustainable Development Goals and the importance of Ireland taking a lead on food security and taking a lead at European fora, European Union, of course, and at the UN, and through our aid programmes. And that will remain a constant in terms of our international outlook and international foreign policy, and particularly the pursuit of the realisation of the Sustainable Development Goals, and doing everything we possibly can to prevent famine this year, notwithstanding the extraordinary pressures on food and so forth. And we hope the breakthrough recently will help in terms of grain getting out of Ukraine and so on for many countries that require that. So I just want to again say it's wonderful to be back in person. And I've just said to Simon, things have advanced since our last time here. It's not as muddy. That could be a feature of the weather and so on like that. But I've always enjoyed the idyllic location here. I took advantage of it coming over this morning. I had a great walk just adjacent to Lough up to the hill, back down again, and then we swam in Lough before we came here. So it's kind of all pleasure so far, and I've no doubt our distinguished contributors here will only add to the very pleasurable experiences we've had so far. Thank you very much indeed, and enjoy the conference.